Ever wondered which helicopter hunted submarines during World War II? The Flettner Fl 282 Colibri was Nazi Germany's operational combat helicopter that flew missions while everyone else was still experimenting. Today, we're revealing 15 stunning facts about this revolutionary machine that Germany built years before anyone else. And number 1 will show you how this hummingbird changed helicopter history forever. Hit that like button, subscribe for more wartime aviation, and let's uncover Germany's secret rotary weapon. 15. Intermeshing rotor pioneer. The FL-282 used twin intermeshing rotors spinning in opposite directions instead of a tail rotor. This unique configuration eliminated the need for anti-torque systems completely. The two rotors passed each other safely with precise timing and spacing. German engineer Anton Flettner designed this synchronous system that was mechanically complex but aerodynamically efficient. The intermeshing rotors provided better lift and control than single rotor designs. This configuration became Flettner's signature, distinguishing his helicopters from Sikorsky's tail rotor approach. The system worked reliably despite skeptics predicting the rotors would collide catastrophically. Germany pioneered an alternative helicopter configuration that proved viable and effective. 14. Naval reconnaissance specialist. The FL-282 was designed specifically for shipboard reconnaissance and submarine spotting missions. The German Navy needed aircraft that could operate from small ship decks in rough seas. The FL-282's compact size and vertical takeoff capability made it perfect for naval operations. It could land on cruisers and destroyers without requiring large flight decks or catapults. The helicopter's hovering ability allowed extended observation of suspected submarine locations. Pilots could study wave patterns and periscope wakes that fast aircraft missed completely. The Navy deployed FL-282S operationally, making it the world's first helicopter used for actual combat missions. Germany recognized naval applications for helicopters before other nations even considered the possibility. 13. Open cockpit design. The FL-282 had a completely open cockpit with no canopy protection for the pilot. The single crew member sat exposed to wind, weather, and enemy fire during flights. This design saved weight and simplified construction during wartime material shortages. Pilots wore heavy flight suits, goggles, and helmets to protect against freezing wind at altitude. The open cockpit provided excellent visibility in all directions for reconnaissance missions. There was no protection from rain, snow, or sea spray during naval operations. Despite the obvious discomfort, pilots accepted the open cockpit because the helicopter's capabilities were revolutionary. The design reflected Germany's desperate wartime priorities, where performance mattered more than pilot comfort. 12. Tiny hummingbird size. The FL-282 earned the nickname Colibri, meaning hummingbird because of its small size and agility. The helicopter measured just 21 feet long and weighed only 1,700 pounds fully loaded. The compact dimensions allowed storage aboard ships with a limited space. The small rotor diameter of 39 feet meant the FL-282 could land in confined areas. Despite its tiny size, the helicopter performed effectively in demanding naval conditions. The hummingbird comparison was accurate. The FL-282 could hover precisely and maneuver quickly like the tiny bird. German engineers proved that effective helicopters didn't require massive size or overwhelming power. Small dimensions became an advantage rather than a limitation for shipboard operations. 11. Production under bombing. Germany attempted to mass-produce the FL-282 despite constant Allied bombing raids on factories. Orders called for 1,000 helicopters to equip naval vessels and army units throughout Europe. BMW built the engines while Flettner assembled airframes at dispersed facilities. Allied bombers destroyed production facilities repeatedly, preventing large-scale manufacturing from succeeding. Only about 24 FL-282s were actually completed before Germany's collapse in 1945. The production failure wasn't due to design flaws, but rather to Germany's collapsing industrial infrastructure. Engineers dispersed manufacturing to underground facilities and hidden locations to avoid bombing. Despite desperate efforts, Germany never achieved the helicopter production numbers they desperately needed for combat operations. 10. Reliable BMW engine. The FL-282 was powered by a single BMW Brahmo SH-14A radial engine producing 140 horsepower. This 7-cylinder air-cooled engine was reliable despite its modest power output. BMW's engine proved more dependable than many experimental helicopter power plants being tested elsewhere. The radial configuration provided smooth power delivery essential for helicopter control stability. The engine ran cool enough to avoid the overheating problems that plagued other early helicopters. Maintenance was straightforward because BMW engines were already used in aircraft throughout Germany's military. The 140 horsepower was sufficient for the FL-282's lightweight and naval missions. Germany's engine reliability gave the FL-282 a crucial advantage over experimental helicopters that suffered constant power plant failures. 9. Mediterranean combat missions. The FL-282 flew operational missions in the Mediterranean theater spotting for German naval vessels. Pilots conducted submarine searches, convoy reconnaissance, and damage assessment flights from ships. These combat operations made the FL-282 the world's first helicopter to see actual wartime service. The helicopter's ability to hover and observe made it invaluable for naval commanders. Allied forces were shocked when German helicopters appeared over Mediterranean waters. The FL-282 provided German ships with aerial observation capabilities that Allied vessels lacked. Combat missions validated the helicopter concept operationally rather than just theoretically. Germany's operational helicopter experience exceeded anything Britain, America, or Russia achieved during the war. 8. Test pilot excellence required. Flying the FL-282 demanded exceptional pilot skill because the intermeshing rotors were unforgiving of mistakes. The controls required constant attention and smooth inputs to prevent dangerous oscillations. German test pilots spent months learning the FL-282's unique handling characteristics. Poor control inputs could cause the rotors to strike each other with catastrophic results. Only experienced pilots were assigned to operational FL-282 units flying combat missions. The helicopter's sensitivity meant rough conditions and combat stress made flying extremely challenging. Despite the difficulty, skilled pilots performed missions successfully throughout the Mediterranean campaign. Germany's test pilots developed expertise that other nations wouldn't match for years. 7. Superior to Allied helicopters. The FL-282 was operationally superior to any Allied helicopter flying during World War II. While America's R-4 was still experimental, Germany's Colibri flew combat missions routinely. The intermeshing rotor design provided better control and efficiency than early American single-rotor helicopters. Germany had operational helicopters years before the Allies deployed theirs beyond training duties. The FL-282's combat record proved Germany led helicopter development during the war. Allied intelligence officers were surprised by Germany's helicopter advancement when captured FL-282s were examined. The technological gap showed Germany's innovation despite losing the broader war. Germany's helicopter superiority was one area where they genuinely exceeded Allied capabilities. 6. Captured technology treasure. Allied forces captured surviving FL-282 helicopters at war's end and shipped them immediately to America and Britain. Engineers studied the intermeshing rotor system extensively to understand its advantages. American helicopter manufacturers examined Flettner's design principles and incorporated lessons into their own development. The captured FL-282s provided invaluable data about operational helicopter design from actual combat experience. Allied engineers tested the helicopters thoroughly, confirming their effectiveness and reliability. Some captured pilots were interrogated about operational techniques and tactical employment. The technology transfer from captured FL-282s accelerated Allied helicopter development significantly. Germany's wartime innovation became the foundation for post-war American and British helicopter programs. 5. Anton Flettner's genius. Anton Flettner was the brilliant engineer behind the L-282's revolutionary intermeshing rotor design. He had experimented with helicopters and autogyros since the 1930s, refining his concepts continuously. Flettner's engineering approach emphasized mechanical simplicity and aerodynamic efficiency over brute power. His intermeshing rotor system was mathematically complex but mechanically elegant in execution. Flettner worked closely with test pilots, incorporating their feedback into design improvements rapidly. He understood that operational helicopters required reliability more than theoretical performance maximums. After the war, Flettner emigrated to America, where he continued helicopter development. His wartime genius influenced American helicopter design for decades through his post-war work. 4. Cold weather operations. The FL-282 operated successfully in harsh winter conditions across Europe's northern regions. The helicopter flew missions in snow, ice, and freezing temperatures that grounded conventional aircraft. The open cockpit was brutally cold, but pilots endured it to complete reconnaissance missions. The intermeshing rotors continued functioning reliably despite ice accumulation on the blades. Germany tested the FL-282 extensively in Scandinavian conditions to validate cold weather performance. The helicopter's ability to operate in winter proved its practical military value. Cold weather reliability demonstrated that helicopters weren't just fair weather experimental toys. The L-282 worked effectively in conditions that would have destroyed less robust helicopter designs. 3. Minimal vibration success. The FL-282's intermeshing rotor design produced significantly less vibration than single-rotor helicopters. The counter-rotating rotors balanced each other aerodynamically, smoothing out power pulses and oscillations. Reduced vibration meant less structural fatigue and longer component life between maintenance. Pilots appreciated the smoother ride, which reduced fatigue during long reconnaissance missions. The minimal vibration allowed more precise control inputs and steadier hovering. This characteristic gave the FL-282 a comfort advantage that early American helicopters lacked. The smooth operation proved Flettner's design theory was superior in practical application. Less vibration translated directly to better mission effectiveness and improved pilot performance throughout flights. 2. Lost technology advantage. Germany's helicopter advantage was lost completely when the war ended in defeat. The FL-282 production facilities were destroyed, and surviving helicopters were captured or scrapped. Germany's years of operational experience and engineering knowledge disappeared as the nation collapsed. Former enemy powers absorbed German helicopter technology, while Germany itself was prohibited from aviation development. The technological lead Germany held in 1945 evaporated as other nations advanced rapidly. Germany wouldn't build helicopters again for decades, while former enemies dominated the industry. The L-282's combat lessons benefited America and Britain more than Germany itself. War's outcome meant Germany's innovation enriched their conquerors instead. 1. Operational before everyone else. Here's the ultimate truth. The FL-282 was the world's first truly operational helicopter flying combat missions, while others were still testing prototypes. Germany deployed helicopters into combat operations years before America's R-4 left experimental status. The FL-282 proved helicopters could perform military missions reliably under combat conditions. Germany's operational experience with the FL-282 demonstrated practical helicopter utility beyond theoretical speculation. While Sikorsky was still convincing skeptics, Germany's pilots were flying missions over the Mediterranean. The FL-282's operational record validated helicopter warfare concepts that others hadn't yet attempted. Germany led the world in helicopter operations during World War II conclusively. The Colibri was operational before anyone else even tried, and there you have it. 15 facts proving the Flettner Fl-282 was years ahead of its time despite Germany's defeat. Which fact surprised you most? The combat missions or the intermeshing rotors? Drop your thoughts below, hit like, subscribe for more wartime aviation history, and we'll see you in the skies.